guys, so this video is late because of trauma. Hey guys, so it's been a it's been a traumatic week, 2 weeks, 3 months. So for those of you who don't know, ICE was created in March of 2003 as another response to 9/11. Somehow it all leads back to 9/11. It was originally a response to 9/11. It was created under the Department of Homeland Security, and somehow it's now translated into detaining immigrants for a weird amount of times, abusing them, and now apparently we're moved on to gas chambers. So first of all, I just want to talk about who runs these detention centers. ICE itself says that they are not responsible for the rampant abuse that happens in these detention centers. And you may wonder, how could they not claim responsibility over their own centers? And it's because, basically, much like jail, a lot of the detention centers, actually 70% of the detention centers, are run by privately owned companies, not by ICE. I don't know if this needs to be said, but I'm going to say it right here before we even go any farther. ICE should be abolished. It's no longer necessary. I don't know if it ever was, because more people have died from coronavirus than from 9/11, and yet the government's kind of really focused on killing protesters. So two biggest private businesses that pretty much control most of the detention centers are the GEO Group, which received $184 million of tax money. Anyway, basically, the GEO Group, they're not a great group. They've actually ran some of the juvenile facility centers. One of the states that employed them actually cut them out because of how they were treating juveniles. I'm going to link this down below. But basically, NPR did a whole cover spread on the GEO Group telling you what they do. GEO Group is the second largest for-profit prison operator. That's who's in charge of a lot of our detention centers. And then in 2007, the Texas Youth Commission canceled a contract with GEO for their juvenile justice center because auditors came over unannounced and they witnessed rampant abuse, to the nth degree. And imagine, I saw reports of when ICE detention centers had people coming in, when AOC visited the detention centers, and they were still acting very rude, very callous. No one had the right supplies. Imagine what it would have been like if the visit had gone unannounced. CoreCivic is Corrections Corporation of America, and they received $135 million in taxpayer money just to abuse and use. So I want to talk about this BuzzFeed article about an interview with a Mexican immigrant. She's going to be Jane Doe, as she wants to remain anonymous. Basically, what happened to her is that after being detained at the Houston Processing Center, operated by CoreCivic, the second big group, they took Doe and 2 other women into an empty area, closed them into an isolated cell, left them in the dark, and then came back in their street clothes to rape and assault them. So the reason that this is even public right now is because Doe was pregnant from the assault, and that's absolutely so disgusting. The women were deported the next day after the assault without being given a shower. They were subjected to rape, suggested to abuse, and it's just really horrible. A report created by the detention agency CoreCivic, submitted to the government, found that there were at least 8 allegations of sexual assault made against employees at the Houston Processing Center just in 2017. So speaking of being detained in coronavirus times, we already know that the biggest ways to get infected is being in large groups of people, indoors, with a lack of fresh air. And guess how? About 30,000 people are currently detained nationwide in America. And of those 30,000 people, as of May 11th, only 1,700 have been tested for coronavirus. Of those 1,700, about half of them tested positive. If we're just going to do some quick maths here, we can guesstimate that 15,000 people are being detained with coronavirus. The numbers could honestly be higher. We don't know if they're testing people that are asymptomatic or just the people who are the sickest. And if they're only testing the sickest, then God knows more people are sick. And it's just 4,000 physicians did send a letter to Trump demanding that more detainees be released to prevent the coronavirus. Obviously, we haven't heard about that. Apparently, the only people that Trump wants to communicate with on a daily basis is Twitter. Maybe Twitter has to get him to release some ICE immigrants. I don't know. These things are arguments. We shouldn't be arguing over human life. We shouldn't be arguing over a lack of supplies. Like, they are literally in jail. They have to stay in their cells for 23 hours a day. Some of them aren't able to go outside at all. There's a reduction of time spent in communal areas. Sick detainees are just put in a separate unit. It's like there's still a lack of supplies like hand soap and toilet paper. And even worse, they're not even telling people about the coronavirus. I'm pretty sure that most of the people in immigration don't even know about the protests that are going on in all 50 states. Another disgusting personal story that I found was that an immigrant of the name of Isaac. He's a 17-year-old Guatemalan man, and basically he was detained as a minor. So they detained Isaac until his 18th birthday so that he could be transferred into a full-fledged detention center where he's more likely to get coronavirus, where he is now being held under civil law just because, he was told that he was getting released by his birthday, and then they lied to him and kept him there so that they could have another prisoner. Also, they've been using slave labor. Could it get worse? Yes, it could. Don't know why you asked. Of course it gets worse, because they're doing it on fucking purpose. According to the lawyers of some of the people being detained, the administration has violated the Trafficking Victims Protection Reorganization Act, which required that the government to consider the least restrictive setting available to the migrants. So if you are under 18 and you are caught by ICE, you are supposed to be then put into a group home or placed with a sponsor. And then the young people that are transferred into detention centers are targeted and bullied by the people already there because they could be bringing in the virus. It makes them a target on both sides. It's just so fucking disgusting. So I'm just going to finish this up with some more horrible news just to wrap this up and get it out, because I don't know how much longer I'll be able to record. I'm not going to lie. The U.S. lost track of another 1,500 migrant children. That was back in 2018. We still don't know what happened to them. The Trump administration is rushing to deport migrant children, basically when they have unaccompanied minors, instead of letting them have a day in court to stay in America. If they had a previous case with or without their parents, they are now just being deported because apparently they already had their case. So the last thing I'm going to talk about on ICE is immigrant detainees say ICE is using coronavirus disinfectant sprays that cause bleeding, burns, and pain. So y'all know that most disinfectant should not be used on your person at all. So they're cleaning the cells with the people in them. It's a fucking gas chamber. There's a reason why you're not supposed to inhale Lysol. There's a reason why you're not supposed to touch bleach. The guards have started spraying this chemical everywhere, over everything, all the time. It says that the detainees are bleeding from their noses. People are fainting and they don't know where they're going, probably getting beat up in the corner. Here's my fucking point. If ICE detention centers cannot provide proper care for detainees, then they should not exist. That's it.